Cruise news time. Is it me, or do the opponents of cruising, the cruise restart in the US, are they living in the past? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Lido Loca. I'm your host Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. And forgive me, but I am a little hot. We've had some great news, some promising signs for the restart of cruising by summer of 2021. And in the midst of that, we have two people in Congress writing a letter to the director of the CDC saying, don't let them do it. And the reason that they're offering is so devoid of logic, it's making my head hurt. I guess the best way to do it so that I'm not making up anybody's words is just to go through the letter. But The letter. Dear Dr. Walensky, we write today with significant concern about the prospect of premature resumption of cruise ship operations that could threaten public safety and increase the spread of the coronavirus. While the United States is making significant progress in distributing COVID-19 vaccines, introduction and spread of COVID-19 by cruise ship crew and passengers could undermine this progress and require additional mitigation measures that delay our economic recovery and put health at severe risk. We urge you to strictly enforce the technical guidance issued under the Framework for Conditional Sailing to minimize this threat and to take all the appropriate steps, including halting cruises as necessary if outbreaks occur on board. Right here in the first paragraph, they're making the argument that somehow people going on cruises will accelerate the spread of COVID in the whole country of the United States. The whole country where vast majorities of the states are wide freaking open. Nevada completely opening up. Las Vegas here in just a few weeks. California getting ready to reopen on a larger scale in June. Florida wide open. We're talking about 3,000 to 5,000 people on a cruise ship. Somehow that is going to disrupt the whole country and throw us into a COVID tailspin. How out of touch are these people with what's going on in the country? It is super frustrating to me because they're picking on the thing that it's easy to pick on. They're picking on the thing that they know that the CDC has control over. But, there's not a peep out of these guys about anything else that really is more risky than cruising right now. But at least they've got some data. At least they've got some fact-based argumentation to put forth in paragraph 2. Let's read that. In its March 14th, 2020, no-sell order, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention acknowledged the increased risk of transmission on cruise ships, noting that outbreaks on cruise ships had resulted in countless hours of work for numerous already burdened public health officials. Giving the potential for large virus spread event on a cruise ship, the CDC appropriately issued its no-sell order to suspend cruise ship operations. On April the 2nd, 2021, the CDC issued the first phase of technical guidance under the CSO, which was implemented on October the 31st, 2020 by the previous administration. The guidance outlines procedures, protocols that will allow resumption of cruise ship travel when it is safe to do so. Failing to adhere to this guidance could create unsafe conditions that jeopardize public health. Therefore, we believe it is a public health imperative that the CDC rigorously enforce the technical guidance under the CSO and take all necessary measures, including stopping cruise line operations as needed if COVID outbreaks happen aboard cruise ships. All right. Let's just look at the last statement there. CDC, you have to stop cruising if there is a COVID outbreak. You have to shut down cruise operations if there is a COVID outbreak. Well, how are you going to shut anything down if it's not going? This is such a backwards paragraph. Don't let cruising resume, but make sure that you stop cruising when something bad happens. There is no cruising. Again, this feels to me like some serious grandstanding. First, you lose me when your main argument is based on the data about cruise ships from March the 14th, 2020. That is such a devoid argument. I have had countless exchanges with people in the comments who say, you know that Dr. Fauci told us not to wear masks. And you know what my response to that is? Dr. Fauci told us not to wear a mask on March the 8th, and then shortly after that, the dude learned something because we are studying the COVID, and when he learned something, he changed his recommendation. I've had that argument so many times, and I believe that these Congress people here would agree that Fauci changing his mind as he learned more data was a good thing, but yet they want to go back and look at the March 14, 2020 information about cruise ships and apply it to today's situation. That's a bunch of bull. That's just a bunch of bull. That's just not the way that learning works. This is completely devoid of looking at how cruising has happened in other places around the world. This is completely devoid at looking at the plans that the cruise lines have put forth to mitigate the spread of virus on cruise ships. This is ignoring all of the work that has been done over the past year to make cruising more safe than it was in March of 2020 and just going, well, you know, it sucked in 2020, so it's got to suck today. It's such a weak argument because they would not apply the same standard to the way that public health has changed over the last year. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I am wrong. And then the thing that they reiterate here is that, yes, the CSO is in place and the CDC should stop cruise ships if COVID outbreaks on cruise ships. I don't think there's any argument for that. I don't even understand what the point of writing that down is. The CDC said that they'll let cruising start when they deem it safe, and they continue to hold the power to pull it back if there is an outbreak on a cruise ship. Why are you writing Dr. Walensky going, hey, you should do your job? That doesn't seem helpful. I think that she has her job in mind. Are you afraid that Dr. Walensky's not going to do her job based on some old data? I'm sorry. I hate this argument. I hate it on either side of the aisle. I hate where you try to make a scenario where people can't learn something and change their mind. Oh, you learned something and changed your mind. You're a flip-flopper. No, you're a learner. That's the way the world works. We still don't think that the sun revolves around the earth, do we? The last paragraph. While the United States makes progress toward the shared goal of beating this pandemic, COVID-19 remains a grave public health risk that requires ongoing vigilance. Prematurely lifting restrictions on cruising with thousands of people in close proximity and conditions ripe for the spread of infection threatens a serious setback in progress. It is absolutely critical that we listen to scientists and health and safety experts over the industry and its profit-driven executives. So you have profit-driven executives who are in charge of the livelihood of thousands of people, including thousands of American workers who have come up with a safe way to resume cruising. All they're asking for is the ability to prove that their process works, and you want to throw shade on them. Don't listen to the industry. They're not about the science. Even though the industry developed their own healthy cell panel, tapping members of Health and Human Services, tapping former members of the FDA, these evil executives, profit-driven executives, they're out to make sure that everybody in the country has COVID. You cannot let this business restart. But yeah, everything else in the country can run wild. Like, again, it's very much cherry picking here. You have these guys writing to the CDC, which does have the ultimate power over cruising, while ignoring everything else that is going on in the country because they don't have the ability to talk to somebody that has the pull over those things. Now, look, I am frustrated. I am all for a dialogue that exists on a level plane, but to throw the shade like, oh yeah, the cruise executives, they're about making money. Fine. What is profitability most tied to in the cruising industry? It is providing cruise vacations where people don't get sick, where people don't get quarantined, where the whole industry doesn't shut down because they did it wrong on the restart. It's not that hard to draw the line. It's not that hard to see what the cruise lines have done. It's not that hard to see the experts that the cruise lines have engaged. It's not that hard to see the data of cruising happening across the globe. It's not that hard to interface with other public health organizations who've been dealing with this for months with their cruise restart. It's not that hard. I find this letter to the CDC completely devoid of a rational argument. It's relying on an argument from last year. It's completely devoid of considering what we've learned during this pandemic, what the cruise industry has done during this pandemic, and to me, it's just a grandstanding. I am encouraged by the conversations between the CDC and the cruise lines this week. From what I understand, the cruise lines need a commitment from the CDC by May so that they can actually work toward a summer restart of cruising. But if that doesn't happen, I don't know where we go. If this is what we're using to determine the cruise restart, then it ain't ever gonna happen. It ain't ever gonna happen because people are living in the past, and in my opinion, they're unjustly disadvantaging an industry that provides work for American workers, and there's really no logic to it. Sorry for the frustration, but man, I don't like the weak argument at all. Make sure you're doing your part. I'll leave a link in the first comment to the CLIA Action Center. Go fill out your information. Make sure that your representatives know how you feel about cruising. This is making a difference, and make sure that your voice is being heard. What do you think? I tend to believe that these one-off things by politicians aren't really going to matter anyways, but this one kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Let's have the conversation. Leave a comment below. Do me a favor. Cast a vote for cruising by hitting the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Watch this video by YouTube. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.